Welcome to it, sports fans. It is the MKT Show. I am MKT. The MKT in MKT Show is me. I am that person. And this is Cliff Central Sport. Welcome to it. Tuesday, 9th of Feb. Nice to be here. Good to be alive. Feeling great. Had a shave, which feels good. I feel good about that. Tonight, we're going to talk Proteas. And, oh, man, I'm hearing a lot of complaining from Arsenal fans. I'm hearing a lot of complaining about Arsenal fans. And there's been a kind of situation that's developed, unsavory, and it's not entirely Arsenal's fault, but my God, the amount of complaining from these guys. So I'll chat to you and I'll finish off on that, but we'll start off with the Proteas. By the way, MKT inspires on all social media platforms, Cliff Central Sport to support the platform on the YouTube. For now, though, folks, please make sure to go over to Betway South Africa on YouTube and go and support myself and the most Polish man alive. His name's Ben Karpinski. We have started the Way to Go show where I give you my multiplier, which is 5 picks a week. This week, interesting one. For $100, you could win $820, I think, if all my picks are correct. And I checked with my Sangoma. This week, I'm going 5 out of 5. So that's Betway South Africa on YouTube. Otherwise, just check it out on my social media platforms. It'll be out within the next 2 or 3 days. Good fun doing that. All right, let's get into it. I'm dreading it as much as you are. Diving into the Protea talk and reading all the articles. Of course, there's blood in the water now. I think there has been for a long time. I don't think you can dress this up. Let's get into the Protea talk. Talk about the Proteas. Of course, they lost to Pakistan 2-0 after losing to Sri Lanka, which was even more embarrassing because that was at home. But let's deal with the situation as it is. I've always said this, you cannot win on just talent, right? Is one of the beauties of living in South Africa, and I think it's been the lifeblood of our rugby and cricket teams, is we have the best schooling setup in the world. And I don't just say it because I'm patriotic, right? I'm not really big into being patriotic. Just deal with what's real. So I've been to the school worldwide, right? If we talk about your old school, sort of anglicized school, I spent 6 months there. I played sport there. And I can confirm that our sporting level in school is better here. By a mile, by the way. I don't know what it is, but by 16, 17, our athletes are way further developed than theirs. Now, their athletes get to 18, 19, something happens there. I think you can sort of sum it up yourself. But in school, I can guarantee the level that side, and I played first team cricket that side, first team rugby that side, their level is well below ours. Their first team rugby, and this was at a school called Eton, you can go and Google that. So all of the sort of public and what they call private schools, you can kind of feel it out. Back then, star rugby player that side, I was terrible here. I mean, I wouldn't even make a D team, provincial team here. But, that's what it is. So let me confirm that we have talent, right? Our cricket setup is unbelievable. Our school setup is unbelievable in this country. But you can't win on just talent. And I just want to say, and I know it's a particularly South African sentiment, hope is not a plan. Hope is not a plan. The failure in South African cricket is systemic, right? I've said it before, is we have too many local teams. What it does is dilutes the talent. And it's not that we're short on talent. We're short on administrators. So all of the talent that's being produced across the country, we can't find it. And we live with certain restrictions in this country. Obviously, you got to pick sort of a representation. That's going to be what it is. Let's accept that and move on. But that doesn't mean you can't find good talent everywhere. And it seems that the Colpack guys are better at identifying our talent than we are. If it's not the Australians, it's the British, right? Taking our players. Now, the pound is one thing, but in a world with the IPL and the Pakistan League and the West Indian League and the Big Bash, we don't need to be losing our best players, right? The Colpack guys now, they don't need to go. They want to stay here. They want to live in Cape Town. I've lived in the United Kingdom. Nobody wants to live in the UK. If you've been there, trust me, unless you idealize some part of, I don't know, some movie you watched about Middle England, nobody wants to live in the United Kingdom I've lived there. I did it for a year and a half. I can tell you, I don't want to say dreadful, but it's dreadful, right? 8 months of the year, the weather is unworkable. I don't know how they stay human that side. It is unworkable. The food's dreadful. The food is awful in the United Kingdom. And as South Africans, sometimes we forget, as Africans, we forget how big of a thing that is till you move over there. Nobody wants to live there. And now our players don't have to. So stop saying it's just about, oh, they're chasing the pounds. They don't have to. Playing the IPL, playing the BPL. There's lots of leagues now, and they're paying guys now. Cricket's just getting into real money. So don't tell me it's about the pound. It's not. Do you know what professional sportsmen realize? My career is 6 years, 7 years, 10 years long if I'm lucky. I'm not being administrated by malarkey. It's not about the pound anymore. Stop telling me players are chasing money. They don't have to. The money is coming to them. Because top-end talent is at a premium. Folks, top cricketers will get paid all year long. Don't worry about it. We'll find the money to pay the talent. But let me tell you something. I don't care how talented you are. You will not, no matter where you go, accounting, banks, media, I don't care what field you're in, you're not overcoming systemic failure. Honestly, we could have 11 Garfield Sobers. We're not beating anybody. I'm sorry. Nobody can perform in chaos. Nobody can perform consistently. 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10 games, maybe. You will not. And this is why a mentor of mine and my mother has always said to me, don't chase money, chase leadership. Because you can't perform when there's no systems. I'm sorry, I don't care how talented and smart you think you are. There's a reason the best accountants, you know where they go? The best investment bankers. They go to HSBC. They go to Merrill Lynch. They know where to go because the computers work. The systems work. The bosses understand how markets work. And they're going to be exposed to the big bad world. System over talent. Always. That's rule number 1 where South Africa is failing. Everything else is really a shambles from there. But let's deal with what we've got. Listen, Quinton de Kock, his problem's not the talent, right? Folks, we all have it. We have children, we have brothers, we have sisters. We all know in our families who we can trust when we need to have an awkward family conversation about money and about a family holiday. We need to downsize. You know, my parents are retiring. My mom's retiring now. Hey, we had to have some awkward conversations with her. I'm not going to have money conversations with her. I got a sister who's an actuarial scientist. You do it. I know where I fit in, but when it comes to money and planning our family financial future, she's an actuarial scientist. Who do you think I'm going to go to? Quinton de Kock, folks, he's really Adam Gilchrist reincarnated when we just take the talent. Just the talent. Because remember, there's talent and there's mentality. But Quinton de Kock is not a captain, not in his best world. Right? The problem is this. It's not Quinton de Kock. The system got us to a place where somehow number 1, Quinton de Kock got chosen to be captain. But the fact that Quinton de Kock at any stage was seen as the best option for captain tells you the system is broken. That's not on Quinton de Kock, because what Quinton de Kock should be doing is hanging out at number 7, right? And changing cricket matches for South Africa. No responsibility. He shouldn't have to think he's a lad's lad. Listen, I've met him a couple of times, not in person, but I know people who know him. He's a lad's lad. He's a baller. He's a player. He's got no interest in creating systems and culture and managing, you know, there's obviously quota systems in this country and sort of integration in the dressing room, which has to happen, which whether you like him or not, Graham Smith was unbelievable at. He was unbelievable at managing that dressing room to ensure none of the outside stuff broke the dressing room. Quinton de Kock has no interest in doing that. We've all seen that. And that's not on him. It's his personality type. He wants to go and play cricket and keep. He's a terrific athlete and an outrageous batting talent. You don't want to pile captaincy on top of him. He has no clue. And they did it to AB de Villiers, by the way. AB de Villiers wasn't a leader. I think it took 3 or 4 years of AB. So number 1, de Kock shouldn't get dropped. Let's not be silly. He's the best we've had. I think he's the best keeping talent we've ever had. I never loved Dave Richardson, and Mark Boucher, he got a bit of a longevity award. right? I know everybody says, yeah, great keeper. He's got all the keeping records, but he's maybe played 300 test matches. Be honest. Just be honest. You can't compare Mark Boucher to Quinton de Kock as a cricketing talent. And everybody has this thing about Boucher having the steel mentality. Do me a favor. The guy's got like two test hundreds. Stop. I'd rather take Ian Healy over him. Let's just, please, let's be honest. It's not a longevity award. Talent and ability is not a longevity award. Boucher had a tremendous long career. I think he maybe stayed 2-3 years too long. De Kock should have replaced him years ago. I mean, he stayed 2 years too long. De Kock is the greatest keeping talent we've had. Keep him. Now, take the leadership away from him. He mustn't worry about just anything except playing cricket. That's it. I don't want to hear him in meetings and running things. Just go and bat. That's my number one thing. All right. The solution to that is this. We did it with Graham Smith before. Just make Markram the captain now. Here's what you say. You sit Markram down and you say, listen, Aiden, don't worry about getting dropped. Here's your contract, 5 years. Whatever you're earning now will add maybe, let's say, $500,000 on top, because he's going to have huge pressure. Captaining in South Africa is not like captaining England. We know this. There's lots of issues, political issues, cricketing issues. Aiden Markram's world is about to change. We say, Aiden, for the next 5 years, listen, you are undroppable. Don't worry. We don't care if you make 40 ducks in a row. But your job is to rebuild the culture and make the dressing room bulletproof. Whatever happens outside, that's Graham Smith's job. But within the dressing room, Aiden, you will now set a tone. Do you want to be mean? Do you want to be nasty? We must set a tone now, and South Africa will follow you to the depths of hell. We don't care what you do, Aiden, but you set the tone, and we will back you to the hilt. Everything else we'll take care of, us being Cricket South Africa. That's what you do. Quinton de Kock, you just go and bat. That's the first move. But the next moves, and I think these are the next, the toughest moves. Folks, I just want to give you other countries. And when they say a middle order, Joe Root, Williamson, Taylor, Smith, Labuschagne, Pujara, Virat Kohli, those are what other countries have at 3 and 4. India, England, New Zealand, for crying out loud. New Zealand, they're a university team. They'd beat us right now. They would hose us right now. Williamson and Taylor, that's their middle order. Taylor averages about 46. Williamson averages in the mid-50s. They play for a university team. Folks, the next big problem, and people hate to hear this, but I'm sorry. I don't care if it's bad news. If it's true, it's true. Bavuma's got to go, and Faf du Plessis should have gone 2 years ago. Faf du Plessis is still surviving off one innings in Australia. When was that? 2009? He saved a test match in Australia in 2009 or whenever it was. What is he still doing in the team? What does he give you? He's not technically good enough to bat in the top order. So he can't bat 3 or 4 because he's not technically good enough, right? Number 2, right? What is he giving me besides that then? Because you can't give me he's the captain excuse now. What is he still doing in the team? He's been mediocre for 5 years. I don't understand what he's doing there. And Bavuma is just a really watered down version of him. I'm sorry. Folks, Bavuma's had his chance now. 44 tests. 100. Folks, I can't have Faf du Plessis averaging 40 and Bavuma averaging 32 as my middle order. That's what I want my number 7 and 8 averaging. Sean Pollock averaged that back in the day, right? JP Duminy averaged that. Those are all-rounders. Batting all-rounders, what we call lower order batsmen. Folks, Ashwell Prince, 49, 45, 48 and upwards. That's what you got to be. Ashwell Prince was our number 6. He was averaging 48, 49, a world-class player. We cannot tolerate Faf du Plessis. I'm sorry. And for me, it's more egregious having kept Faf in the team this long. Let me tell you why. Because for the bulk of his career, he batted 6 or 7, and these are the names he could hide behind. So it makes no sense to me that he averages 40. Smith, Cullis, Amla, Elgar, AB de Villiers. That's what he got to hide behind, batting at 6 or 7, right, for the Proteas. That's who he had around him. Graham Smith, arguably the greatest, with Matthew Hayden and Langer, the greatest left-hand opening batsman of the modern era. Jacques Cullis, the greatest cricketer of all time, certainly South Africa's greatest of all time. Hashim Amla, the best number 3 we've had probably in modern day cricket, whether you see Cullis as a 3 or a 4. Dean Elgar, he's a watered down version of Gary Kirsten. AB de Villiers, the most prodigal talent you've ever seen. I haven't even put Gibbs on this list, by the way. The most gifted natural talent this country's ever had. AB de Villiers, the most actualized talent we've ever had. Faf du Plessis averaging 40, having hidden behind Smith, Cullis, Amla, Elgar, de Villiers for the bulk of his career. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? And then as for Bavuma, I'm afraid the problem with Bavuma is he's just technically not up to playing Test cricket. I'm sorry. And stop giving me that he's averaged well in this Pakistan series. Folks, a 32 average in 44 tests tells me what you are. And he's only got 1 test 100. And he's only offering, all he offers me is batting. That's your middle order, folks. Your middle order on average is going to give you 72 runs. 72. Joe Root's just given me 150 3 times in a row. I'm sorry. You got Steve Smith, Labuschagne coming in. Pujara, Chateshwar Pujara, and Virat Kohli, 3 and 4. Taylor, he's going to be followed by Williamson. That's a middle order. One averages 46 in Taylor, and the other mid-50s in Williamson. I'm sorry, and that's a university team. Faf du Plessis, 40 average. Bavuma, 32 average. That ain't it. Make brutal decisions. Stop giving people chances, please. The Proteas isn't Montessori. But again, systemic failure, it means the administration won't make the decisions that they have to make. What will they do? They'll make decisions that are popular. Folks, I've always said, in my leadership, I always want to dislike my leaders a little bit. You know why? Because they're going to have to, at some stage, be brave enough to make decisions that go against the majority. The popular decision. Winning's not a popularity contest. Ask Sir Alex Ferguson, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady, Tesla. Right? You go ask these top guys. It's not a popularity contest. Winning's an ugly business. A lot of winning is eliminating loser mentality, which is ugly decisions. Telling Faf du Plessis that it's sailed. Telling Bavuma that it's sailed. Folks, I'll tell you why we can drop these guys. People say, oh, but we have nothing in the local cricket. Don't worry about it. We can be mediocre without them. At least be mediocre with a 23-year-old in Hamza, etc. Moving forward, we take those youngsters forward and we say, you know what? The Proteas are going to be awful for the next 3 years. Just tell the public that. But understand that we are systemically rebuilding. And that means our channels from school to provincial, in fact, from school to under 19 level, so to development level, to provincial, to Proteas, we're going to rebuild that entire sort of phase. That's broken right now because we're not producing enough players that are technically ready. That's the easy side. But the mentality, the sharpened sword, by the time they get to the Proteas, they're not ready. Bavuma's not good enough. Faf was never good enough, to be clear. I'm not going off. Listen, I'm not emotional. I'm not an emotional person. That was one cricket game he saved. And then the rest of the time, he got to hide behind Smith, Cullis, Amla, Elgar, and de Villiers. And then he had the greatest fast bowling quadrant that we've ever seen, maybe in cricket. That what he had there in Morkel, right? Philander, Steyn, and Rabada, that's when he was captain. I mean, is there an easier ride? Come on now. And then he had de Villiers, and then he had Cullis, and then he had Elgar. Stop. Folks, it's over now. The Proteas, this is over. Hand the team to Markram. Markram is undroppable for the next 5 years. Let's make some hard decisions. There are a few people, the two people that must go, and they must go now, by the way. Bavuma and Faf du Plessis. They are not up to the task. You cannot average 32 and 40 and offer me nothing else. Bavuma offers me nothing else. Faf offers me nothing else. Sorry. This isn't Montessori, right? This isn't play school. There's no chances here. You don't get chances here. Perform or go. And to those who say, who do you bring in? I don't care. Bring in youngsters. Let's be rubbish without 36-year-olds, without a 30-year-old who's clearly not good enough after 44 test matches. I'm happy to be rubbish with Hamza. and say, you know what, Hamza, we did it with Jacques Kallis. For those who didn't watch cricket, Jacques Kallis' first 10 test matches were an abomination. His first year and a half of test cricket really was an abomination. But we said, we can see it. So please, we got Alga at the top. I don't think Markram should be opening, but that's another conversation. But Markram stays. Fill in the youngsters. Hamza comes in now. Bavuma's gone. Hamza comes in. And Hamza is bulletproof. He's undroppable for the next 3 years. For the next 3 test calendar years, I don't care how Hamza plays, he is undroppable. If we could have handled Bavuma for as long as we have, we can certainly live with Hamza. I'm sorry, it's over now. I don't want to hear excuses. I don't want to hear about the breeding the next generation. Faf du Plessis clearly failed in that. He gave up the captaincy. Once he gave up the captaincy, what's he doing in the team? Because his average is 40. I don't get it. Sorry, it's over. Bavuma, Faf, gotta go. Quinton de Kock not captain. Markram's the captain. We move on. Those are my thoughts. I'm sorry. I've had enough. I've had enough. I don't mind being mediocre, but I want to be mediocre with a plan. And having a 30-year-old and a 36-year-old is not a plan. Because what's going to happen? They're going to be here for another 2 years, and then we're going to be awful anyway after that. So drop them now. Let's swallow the bitter pill now as Proteas. And then the next 2 years, Hamza builds his mentality. Markram gets to see who's the men I can take to battle. Right? The next 2 years for Markram is going to be painful as captain. Because he's going to need to learn not to be the cool guy in the dressing room. He's going to have to make some tough decisions. Folks, think back to when, if you're old like me, one of the first decisions that Graham Smith made when he came into the dressing room was what? Lance Klusener's got to go. Zulu, one of the biggest cult figures cricket has ever had, beloved in all of South Africa. Do you remember the backlash that Graham Smith got as a 22-year-old brash? What happened then? Then the culture tone was set. We're going to have to give Markram the room to make those sort of cutthroat decisions without consequences. We must protect him and protect that dressing room. Bavuma, Faf, it's time. All right, let's take some questions, and then I'll finish off with the Arsenal. It'll be short and sweet. Rikus Swart says, the CEO returned to work yesterday and she was suspended again immediately. CSA is a circus, and every time Natim Tetwa gets involved, he makes things worse. It is an absolute circus. What can I add to that? So this is the same CEO that spent 500,000 Rand on a back page advert on the Sunday Times, which, by the way, is still a newspaper. This is the type of nonsense we're dealing with. We've got to be able to say this stuff. Like, these people in charge, it's a joke. It's a joke, right? She is nowhere near. The COO is nowhere near ready to do that task. And that's unacceptable. They got to go as well. The corporate stuff is a whole thing. Graham Smith's got to deal with that. He took the job. Right? He took the job. But Rikus, you've nailed it. It's a circus. It's beyond a circus. Listen, don't say a circus, because in a circus, you've got to organize it, right? You got to organize sort of the travel and the tent. No, a circus is organized. That's a malarkey, absolute joke. Rikus says, Aiden is the only option and Faf needs to go. He's extremely inconsistent. Kyle, Hamza, Van Tonder, De Swart are all young talents with averages of above 45 to 55 in the local game. We need that asterisk. So what are we waiting for? Like, are we waiting for Bavuma to get to 100 test matches with a 32 average? What are we, like, Bavuma's shown you who he is. Listen, the great Maya Angelou, right? And my old man used to say this all the time. People show you who they are. Believe them the first time. Folks, we've given Bavuma 44 tests now. He's got a 100. He doesn't do anything else. Come on now. Folks, we can be mediocre with 23-year-olds. Let's give them the 5 years we've given Bavuma. By the time they're 28, they kill us. They kill us. And Rick is just correcting me there. It was 2012 in Adelaide. Of course, that famous test match where Faf survived the entire last day. Okay, but what else? Like, that's not good enough. I'm sorry. What have you done for me lately? Which is why I'll always say it. I'll say it now. I'll say it again. In any business you're in, one thing I've learned from a mentor of mine, Don't pay talent because we become addicted to it. Oh, he was so great for us that one time, right? We idealize things. That's how we've evolved, by the way. There's a really important reason why we've evolved that way for the brain to be okay with life. We don't remember bad incidents. That's why we got the average column. 40 is not good enough. Sorry. And my mentor always says, don't pay talent, pay production. A 40 average is not production. I'm sorry, since 2012, go and find anything that Faf has done for us as a batsman. I just don't get it. Ruka says, England's number 6 has a first-class average of 55 in Ollie Pope. If you exclude his test record, his average is above 60. Our number 6 average, our number 6's average is 30. It is unbelievable. It's beyond unbelievable. If I can see it, it's their job. It is their job to see it. I'm sorry, this is just a joke. But for me, now Bavuma has to go, and I'm sorry, Faf has to go. And then we'll work from there. Aiden's the captain now. Let's lock it in. Let's stop mucking about, please. Let's make some decisions. Leadership, make some decisions. I don't need you to be popular. I don't need, you know what, Graham Smith, I'm sorry. I know he's your mate, and I know Faf's your guy. You probably have ties from before. This is not a popularity contest now. Cut the cord. Bavuma, cut the cord. I know Bavuma's the next great hope. He's the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. He's not. 30 average. Cut the cord. He's got to go now. Folks, if I don't do my job, I get fired. I'm sorry. And they get paid handsomely. It's time. It's time. And Quinton de Kock must go nowhere. Here's what will scare you. And I know this might scare people. I think Quinton de Kock at the moment, purely on what I see, Quinton de Kock's our best batsman. Now, I think Markram's probably our best batsman overall. But on overall performance over the last 6-7 years, it might scare you. Go and take a look at the record, because I have. Isn't it scary that Quinton de Kock is our best batsman, considering what we just saw? Now, I think what we just saw in de Kock was a man who just wanted to get out of there. He didn't want to be there anymore. He wants to be out the limelight. It's not for him. He just wants to play cricket and hang out with the Oaks in Alberton. All right, last comment. Senzo Sitebe says, the Proteas are shambolic. Also, Aiden must bat at 4. Folks, I've said this before. Your best batsman in Test cricket always bats 4. That's historic. That's not me being smart. I can go through the list. Lara, where did he bat? Mahela Jayawardena, where did he bat? Right? Come on. Joe Root, where does he bat? Steve Smith, where does he bat? Come on. Sachin Tendulkar, where did he bat? Virat Kohli, where does he bat? Folks, I've loved Test cricket since I was 6 years old. I've been watching this thing way too long. The reason you bat your best batsman at number 4 is the openers are supposed to see off the shine. Number 3, if the openers go out, needs to have the technique to kind of be an opener, but also see the shine off and really blunt the bowling. Number 4 is your best player, and he really puts the bowling to the sword. That's the archetype. Aiden Markram is clearly, by a mile, our best batsman. Protect him. Think of it like chess. What do? You protect the queen. Everyone else is pawns, by the way. Openers are pawns. Number 3, he should be talented, but a pawn. In the end, where did Cullis have his best performances? When Amla came in. Cullis is our best batsman. Cullis's average, once he moved to number 4, was always like, 49, 50? He moved to number 4, he finished with a 55 test average. It's simple, folks. The archetype's there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's over now. Graham Smith, stop trying to be popular. Be a leader. It's time. Amla, Bavuma, out. All right. Listen, I just want to finish off on this because it's gotten to me. Listen, we're going to talk about the Arsenal. The Pistols, really, because they're not the Gunners anymore. It's been 18 years of mediocrity. I just want to deliver some bad news if you're an Arsenal fan. You are not losing because of referees. That's not the reason you're losing. Folks, I'm a runner, right? If I can't run 10 minutes in 40 minutes or 10 Ks in 40 minutes right now, that's not because it's raining or the road's a little bit hilly or my shoes are old. If I don't train, I'm not going to run a 4-minute 10K. Right? I'm not going to run a 40-minute 10K. That's me. To the Arsenal fans, I have bad news for you. Your football club has been terrible. And this is not a jab. This is the truth. If you don't like what I've got to say, use Google. You've been terrible for 18 years. Are you telling me it's Mike Dean's fault that you were awful from 2005 until now? Am I the crazy one? Why do I have to deliver this news to Arsenal fans? It's the referee's fault. Every single week, it's the referee's fault. To the point where Mike Dean's been asked to be removed. Okay, has he made some dodgy decisions? Listen, I thought that Souček one was a red card, but okay. And I've played football at a high level, so I know what a red card is. That's a red card. I mean, what do we do? But okay, fine. Let's call Mike Dean a bad ref. What about every other ref? Is it always an agenda against Arsenal? Are you telling me Man City, who've been winning, Chelsea, who've been winning? So Chelsea and Man City, because what you're suggesting is Chelsea and Man City are paying the refs because they've been the dominant force the last sort of 18 years, right? Those two clubs. And Man United before that. You're telling me Man United are paying the refs. I mean, obviously they paid Howard Webb. We all know that. Okay, that's libelous. They didn't pay him. But, I mean, come on. Some of the stuff at Old Trafford. But Arsenal, your football club's bad. You have bad players. You have bad systems. And you've got no talent acquisition. That's a bad recipe in any business. You don't acquire good talent. You don't have good talent in-house. And you don't have a good coach. Oof. Oof. Arsenal, the club's broken. So to Arsenal fans, I've said this before. The rebuild is 5 years. Mikel Arteta's fine. He's not the problem. He's very, very talented. And I told you before, I don't care how talented you are. You are not overcoming systemic failure. Folks, you are not overcoming systemic failure. I don't care if you go to Harvard and you graduate cum laude as an engineer. If you go to a company where the computers don't work and the software is from 1998, it is not going to happen. You can come from MIT with every degree and master's in the world. If you come into an accounting firm where they don't have software that works and the building leaks and there's no phone lines, I don't care how talented you are. You cannot overcome systemic failure. Lastly, I just want to tell you what's clear to me at Arsenal. Right now, winning is not the goal. If winning was the goal, you wouldn't have the lack of talent you've got at Arsenal right now. You wouldn't have a 19-year-old as your best player at the club. Go and name a successful club in the world where a 19-year-old was the best player on the roster. It's happened once in my living memory. I'm 35 this year. Ronaldo came, right? The Ronaldo, not Cristiano Ronaldo. He only got good at 22, by the way. The Ronaldo, Luis de Lima, went to Barcelona at 19. So Bobby Robson said he'd never seen anything like him. Let me tell you how special he was. They literally named him Barcelona Football Club, who had seen Johan Cruyff name this guy the phenomenon. They didn't name Di Stefano that. Eusebio wasn't called that. We'd seen Romario before. We'd seen Bebeto before. We'd seen Stoichkov before. This kid came along at 19. His name is literally El Fenomeno. A 19-year-old was the best player at his club once in my living memory. Leo Messi only got good at 23. Arsenal, there's systemic failure. Bukayo Saka is the best player at Arsenal. He's head and shoulders above everybody. He's 19, 20. That's not the ref's fault. The club's broken. The goal at Arsenal hasn't been winning for the last 17 years. Don't give me Arsene Wenger. Don't give me Unai Emery. And don't give me that it's the ref. Don't give me that. Come on. No chance. There is no chance any Arsenal fan is going to convince me it's the ref's fault. There's no agenda. There's nothing like that. Take a bit of self-responsibility. The club's been a mess for 17 years. If the aim was to win, the last 17 years have been a joke. It has been a joke. Fabregas gone. Nasri gone. Clichy gone. Ashley Cole gone. Come on now. Henry had to leave to go and win the big one. Thierry Henry. Vieira had to go to Inter Milan to play at the next level, he said. Folks, come on now. It's not everyone else's fault, is it? Robin van Persie, he had to leave to go to Man United, your greatest enemy. And you let him. You let him go to Man United. And what happened the next season? He won the league. It took him one season to leave and win the league. That's not the refs. That's not Mike Dean. That's Arsenal. That's Arsenal. All right. I'll finish off with Senzo Stebe saying, Arsenal still think they are relevant. Folks, we all do it. We idealize our best selves, and I think it's a good thing. This is why you need actuarial scientists. This is why you have an accountant. Because it feels so good to buy a PlayStation every month and a game and, extra imported chocolate and this and that. That kind of tells you, listen, tighten up. You're going to be broke in 6 months. The truth is horrible, folks. I want to be Kipchoge. My sports scientist this week just told me, forget it. You're going to be running with the Yentas in Morningside. You're going to be running with the 60-year-olds here at the park run. You're not going to be an Olympian anytime soon. Sorry, my son. It was terrible news. It was tough to hear, but it's true. Arsenal, you've been irrelevant for 17 years. It's not Mike Dean's fault, by the way. It is not. Mike Dean did nothing to make yourself Fabregas, Nasri, Clichy, Ashley Cole, Thierry Henry, Patrick Vieira. Mike Dean did nothing to do that. And Mike Dean did not sanction a transfer of Robin van Persie to your greatest enemy ever. Your ultimate adversary. Oh, you guys look like you didn't win the league last season. Do you know what you should do? Take our best player. Arguably, after Henry, your greatest striker ever in the modern game. Yeah, you have him. Oh, you went and won the league with him. Oh. Man City, what do you think of Bakary Sagna? Have him. Clichy, have him. What do you do? 2 titles in a row. Oh. By the way, it's a running theme now, last 17 years. I don't want to rub it in. But it is. Kolo Touré, he left. He went to Man City. He won. Folks, if you're Arsenal, I want you to accept one thing right now. Everyone who leaves Arsenal wins. Everyone who stays at Arsenal loses. How can that be the ref's fault? What's the common denominator in the losing there? Clichy left, he won. Sagna left, he won. Vieira left, he won. Henry left, Champions League. Fabregas left, Premier League titles with Chelsea. Barcelona, Champions League. Van Persie left, Premier League. Arsenal, duck, goose egg. It's the ref. Do me a favor. Arsenal need to accept something. You are a top 8 club now. That's not me saying that. Just go and look at your league finishes. You're not a Champions League club. You're not a big club anymore. And yes, it is about money. And yes, it is about being aggressive. And you're none of those things. And the great lie started. I remember when they said it. We're moving ground so we can compete with Barcelona, Bayern Munich, and all the big clubs. Man, good stuff. I never want to hear the ref thing again, please. Because Man City don't make that excuse. Chelsea don't make that excuse. Man United don't make that excuse. Bayern Munich don't make that excuse. Only losers complain. And there's only one denominator, by the way. Just go. If you're an Arsenal fan, if you're at home, just go, please. Google. 15 minutes. Take you 10 minutes. Players that have left Arsenal and won. You're the denominator. Broken club. All right. That's me. I'm MKT. This has been the MKT Show on Cliff Central Sport. That's Gareth Cliff. This has been awesome. For now, ladies and gentlemen, you could have been anywhere with anybody. You chose to be with me. Before you go, click the like button if you enjoy the content. And I will certainly be back tomorrow. Cannot wait for tomorrow. I hope you are loved and safe wherever you may be. But for this evening, MKT Show, the Cliff Central format for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are the hell out of here.